In the land of Elthania, to the west, there rests a country called Fenar, land of the elves. Within Fenar's borders, several empires have risen and fallen over the ages, leaving behind many secrets of the old world. Now, though the lords of the realm know relative peace, the common folk struggle. Monsters and villains alike threaten the good-natured people of the land, whose cries for aid have long fallen on deaf ears. These dark times have given birth to a glimmer of hope, many adventurers, courageous and strong, who seek to uproot the evil that is festering in the dark crevices of the world. One such evil has begun to stir. A forgotten valley, far from the white-walled cities of Fenar, houses an unseen shadow amongst the crumbling ruins of a fallen kingdom. It is in this valley that a group of brave heroes will soon learn their destiny. Come and hear the tale of these 4 souls and their adventure in the Elder Vale. The following video is a mostly audio experience. However, there are some awesome visuals for you to see at different points throughout the video. Whenever you hear this audio cue, make sure you look back at the screen for some awesome character art. When you see this visual, it means that there's little to no art to see until the next time you hear the cue. With that out of the way, please enjoy the Elder Vale campaign introduction. Rhonda was raised in a bustling farm town. She inherited her father's stature and her mother's strong will. She was taught the importance of hard work and responsibility from a young age, and that it was her duty as a human being to always strive to make the world a better and safer place for others. She was also raised to appreciate the sun, the light and warmth it gives, and the life it provides in the form of good harvests. Naturally, Rhonda took interest in the teachings of Pelor, god of the sun and keeper of time. As a young teen, Rhonda was accepted as an acolyte of the Order of Pelor, where she spent years learning of his teachings, to spread her god's light to the dark corners of the world, and to give life and hope to all in need. She was eager in her martial pursuits as well, quickly developing a thirst for combat. Though she was first trained with a blade, she came to prefer the heft of a solid warhammer. From years of physical training and healthy eating, and thanks to a few surprising growth spurts, Rhonda ended up being quite physically imposing by the time she was 18. She stood at least 5 inches taller than the next tallest girl at the temple, and could probably lift said girl over her head with enough effort. She had become quite capable of dishing out heavy blows, and even more capable of receiving them. She could outdrink the town knights, and was more in touch with her spirituality than other clerical apprentices her age. Before she could complete her training, however, calamity struck. It happened late at night. A gang of armed bandits infiltrated the town and made their demands known after taking hostages. Hand over a hefty sum of gold pieces and valuables, and let them leave freely. The city guard had no intention of meeting these demands, and were quick to act. The endangered townspeople were rescued, but the bandits showed their numbers, quickly setting the town ablaze with torches. Outnumbered, the city guards hastily enlisted the help of Pelor's paladins, and Rhonda was the first to the front lines. She dispatched many of the brigands despite the overwhelming odds, and even after sustaining heavy injuries, she fought on. Even after the bandits were taken out, innocents were still in need. Though most townfolk had escaped the fires, one large house still contained an endangered family. Rhonda dove in with no regard for her own life, making several trips to carry out the weakened victims. Pushing herself through the burning flames and sickening smoke, she was about to make one final journey into the house to save the youngest child within. Then, a low groan was heard as the house's supports finally gave way from the fire, and the house collapsed. Rhonda screamed in anguish, unable to save the youngest and most helpless victim of the bandit invasion. Guilt plagued Rhonda's mind for days on end. She should have defeated the bandits faster. She should have taken less damage so as to not slow her movements. She should have better resisted the smoke's effect on her lungs in order to save everyone. All of these failures added up, resulting in a loss of life on her watch. It crushed Rhonda's spirits. She wanted to save everyone. After some time, Rhonda was approached by the bishop of her temple. She confessed her feelings to him, and he comforted her, assuring her that Pelor was pleased with her noble sacrifice for the good of the people she had managed to save. He attempted to convince her that she would never be able to save everyone, but she wouldn't accept that. She had always been a stubborn one. She never wanted to fail at saving someone ever again. She would accept nothing less than total victory moving forward. Acknowledging her feelings, the bishop suggested a pilgrimage of sorts, a journey across the land to help more people in need, in order to satiate Rhonda's inner desire to help everyone she could. Rhonda agreed, and continued her training until the day she was ready to set out. A year later, the day finally came, and at the age of 19, Rhonda left town on her grand adventure. Her desire now is to grow as strong as possible in order to save everyone she can. Morgane does not know of her parents or her origin. Her earliest memories were with an elderly druid in the woods, who cared for her in his lonesome hut. He was the one that gave Morgane her human name. Morgane was raised to respect nature and to be one with it, though she never took her teacher's druidic teachings to heart. She learned how to live off the land just fine, but failed to grasp the mystical aspects of her caretaker's druid craft. Still, the two lived happily together until Morgane neared the end of her adolescent years. That's when things changed for the worse for young Morgane. A man with one eye appeared at their home late one night, forcing his way through the front door. Though the elderly druid fought back, he was quickly overpowered by the assailant. Morgane was forced to watch in horror as her mentor and father figure was cut down right in front of her. She attacked the invader in retaliation, but was promptly put in her place and left with a scar on her cheek as a grim reminder of her failure. The event was so hectic and traumatic that, to this day, Morgane cannot even remember how or why the one-eyed man killed her master. After burying her caretaker and gathering her few possessions, Morgane left her home in the woods. The anguish of remaining in that place filled her with grief, and so she traveled for some time before opting to try living among common people in a small village near the edge of the forest. Predictably, the human settlement was slow to trust Morgane. Although they eventually agreed to let her live with them, they never did fully accept the Dragonkin as one of their own. It was around this time that Morgane finally decided to practice her late mentor's teachings using the scrolls he'd left behind, which she was sure to grab before leaving the hut. Though she was capable enough at getting a handle on the practical aspects of druidic spellcasting, Morgane still did not align herself with the spiritual elements of the practice. To her, the natural world was something to respect and work with, but not something to worship or revere. She viewed her natural magic as a tool that, as long as it wasn't abused, was meant to aid her in life. As the years went on, the villagers never did come around to trusting Morgane. The feelings became mutual, and though she was appreciative that they gave her a place to live and work, she grew to resent the people who did not fully embrace her as one of their own. An exception to this was the village children. Young humans, not yet tainted by their parents' prejudices, were interested in Morgane. They smiled when they saw her, and loved watching her practice her spells or her crossbow shooting. Morgane returned this kindness with favors for the children that were not, strictly speaking, legal. She would steal food for them, or take them on adventures through the woods without their parents' consent. These times would soon come to an end, however. One day, a traveling caravan had entered town and was doing business when their cart's brakes failed. The cart rolled downhill, quickly gaining speed as it careened toward an unaware child. Morgane was quick to act, saving the child from the runaway cart. Once the dust had settled, the child was understandably frightened, and so Morgane attempted to cheer the kid up by offering them a piece of fruit from the cart that had crashed. The caravan guard didn't approve of this, and was quick to surround Morgane for her theft. She pleaded her case, claiming that the child was owed at least a bit of fruit to lift their spirits. But the village folk did not defend her. Even the child's own mother fled the scene, not wishing to stand up for Morgane's courageous act. Disgusted with the village's disrespect, Morgane packed her things and left immediately, never to return. At this time in her life, when Morgane was at her lowest and when darkness had crept into her heart, she experienced a revelation of sorts. A dream, more vivid than real life, spoke directly to her soul one night. Since then, the meaning of this prophetic vision has been unclear to her, but it has always lingered in the back of her mind. Morgaine traveled alone from that point onward, distrusting most humans wherever she went and refusing to settle down in one place. While she has always had a kind heart, she is slow to trust others, especially humans, due to her past. She joined the Adventurers Guild some time later, hoping that it would give her a chance to help those in need without fear of prejudice, all the while hoping to find clues that would lead her to the truth behind her dream and to the man who took her father away from her. Leah has lived much longer than the average mortal, but for an elf, her adult life is only just beginning. Raised in a forest tribe by her own kind, Leah is a trained huntress and ranger. She exercises some control over fey magic, which manifests itself in her nature-based spells, but her primary skills lie in her animal-like instincts and her use of a bow. Of course, she's also an expert tracker and forager. Leah's life had been full of brief journeys and adventures, but having spent all of her life within the confines of her woodland home, she had never been fully tested. Furthermore, her family values closeness and tight bonds, a trait that she had grown a distaste for. As is customary for elves of her clan once they reach adulthood, Leah was expected to take on a grand task to prove herself worthy of receiving an adult name from her clan's elders. Her peers all took on quests that involved delving deeper into the more dangerous parts of the forest, and it was tradition for those taking on the trial to do so in groups. But Leah protested. She insisted on leaving the woods and pursuing a grand quest somewhere in the outside world, without help from her kin. Though the elders initially denied this request, Leah cited forgotten texts that she had managed to uncover while scouring her people's history. A loophole of sorts, this clause permits an elf to take on any quest of their choosing, though her success or failure in this quest would ultimately be determined by the elders. Disgruntled by her rebellious demand, the elders agreed to the terms of her coming-of-age adventure, though left her with a warning. If she failed to achieve some feat worthy of recognition, she would not be accepted back into her clan. Determined to not only prove herself worthy of an adult name, but also to show how capable she was on her own in the outside world, Leah packed her things and set out soon after. Eventually, she enlisted with the Adventurers Guild, trusting that the company would someday lead her to a grand quest, which would more than prove her worth to her clan elders. Brighthoffson was raised by monks from a young age, and was taught a unique style of martial arts known as the monkey style. This acrobatic way of fighting combines orthodox hand-to-hand combat techniques with a more unpredictable series of movements, causing the user to resemble a monkey when fighting. Putting his small stature as a Lightfoot halfling to good use, Brighthoffson graduated from monkey school and became a formal monkey master. He has a master's degree. After completing his training, Brighthoffson set out into the world to find new experiences. Despite his teacher's best efforts to keep him on the path of truth and fairness, he gradually developed something of a mischievous streak, and began going by the name Hoff, as he joined up with multiple guilds and businesses to offer his various services. While his martial arts training afforded him some bodyguard positions, he also worked as a grifter of sorts. His most notable exploit was working as the frontman for a popular sign-making business. This guild did indeed produce quality signs, but each sign featured an advanced scrying glyph made by a resident wizard. This glyph allowed the company to keep tabs on their various clients, including some major targets for theft such as bankers and jewelers. The Sign Makers Guild would keep this information private, then sell it to the highest bidder, acting as an info broker of sorts. Hoff bounced from one job to the next, never sticking around in one place for too long. How or why he now works for the Adventurers Guild is unknown to most. He refuses to disclose his motives, and when asked how the guild even accepted someone with such a colored past, his story changes every time. He may have forged some documents upon signing on, bribed the guild management with a hefty sum of coin, or simply sweet-talked his way in. Likely, it was a combination of all three. Though he usually keeps his reasons to himself, deep down, Breithoften truly has a desire to turn from his criminal ways and live a productive life helping others. Our party's story began 3 months ago. Each for their own reasons, they decided to join the Adventurers Guild, an organization dedicated to gathering groups of exceptional individuals and sending them out on various jobs for commoners and nobles alike. They met in Romantia's Adventurers Guild main office, but were needed elsewhere, in Fenar, Leah's home country. The party was transported to a town called Vale, a densely populated trade settlement that served as a central hub for nearby villages. There, they met a half-elf named Lorenzo Marves, who is the advisor to the town's lord. Lorenzo explained that the town of Vale had been experiencing strange occurrences. Trespassers at night who would steal food from the town farms, ominous noises coming from the surrounding woodlands, and even a few cases of disappearing townspeople. Rhonda, Morgaine, Leah, and Hoff got to work investigating these odd occurrences. The group interviewed a farming couple, 2 halflings, whose crops had been stolen overnight. They also met a shady man in the local tavern named Rufus, who offered his wisdom in exchange for a drink. His theory matched that of the party's, that goblins were to blame for the situation. The party set out the next day into the woods, following a trail left behind by the monsters. They encountered a goblin scouting party during their travel, quickly dispatching them without too much trouble. The leader of the goblin scouts, lacking the intellect to properly remember where their own hideout was, possessed a map which would soon lead our heroes to their destination. On their way to the goblin lair, the group came across an odd caravan of gnome merchants. 2 male gnomes, called Flim and Jube, led by their boss, a woman called Miria. The gnomish merchants sold curious magic items to the party, including a weightless glass orb to Hoff, and a cloak of gleaming and billowing to Leah. When their business was concluded, the merchants rode their caravan into a magic portal, vanishing to do business elsewhere in the world. The party carried on, soon finding the goblin hideout in an abandoned temple. After disarming a poison gas trap, the group confronted the goblins in one final clash. The goblins were weak, but numerous, and had with them a monstrous companion, a warg. This warg wasn't normal, however. It was larger, nastier, and much stronger than others of its species. Despite that, the party succeeded in slaying their enemies and ridding Vale of the goblin threat. Three months have passed, and the party has remained in the Vale region ever since. They have taken on countless small jobs for the people of the town, but have grown weary of the dull chores, helping with farm work, retrieving medicinal herbs from the woods, and so on. Even with the occasional excitement of encountering thugs in the city streets, there was just nothing to challenge our group of heroes. Things would soon change, however. Our heroes found themselves face to face with a humongous ogre. Their quest was to investigate strange sounds coming from the steep hills just south of Vale, but they could never have imagined that the source of these noises was something so monstrous. Rhonda engaged the threat head-on, and Morgaine backed her up by transforming into a mighty brown bear. Hoff dove in and out of melee range, exchanging blows with the mighty foe and sustaining heavy injury. Leah kept her distance, and though she had poor luck with her bow that day, she made up for it by helping Hoff with her healing magic. Leah also commanded her wolf companion to attack the abomination, piling on the damage even further. Soon, the ogre let out a mighty roar, seemingly mutating right before the party's very eyes. It grew larger and more muscular, and its skin turned a deep burgundy in shade as its crazed eyes glazed over. Whatever this ogre was, it wasn't normal. The battle raged on, and as the ogre let out yet another mighty roar, it further morphed into its most grotesque form before sprinting away from the party toward the town of Vale. The heroes gave chase, with Morgaine leading the way by finding a shortcut through the wooded area. Leah assisted as well, pinpointing the escaped monster's location as it neared the bottom of the hill. Ambushing the enemy, Hoff leapt onto its head and began steering it toward his allies. As Rhonda stood her ground and attempted to intimidate the monster into submission, Morgaine once again assumed her bestial form and delivered the finishing blow. It was a hard-fought encounter, but in the end, our brave adventurers stood victorious. Investigating the ogre's remains, the party concluded that the monster must have been undead. Not only that, but after a moment of reflection, they also realized that the creature resembled the warg from 3 months prior, a hideous, mutant version of an otherwise mundane creature. Somehow, the monstrosities were linked. Bringing proof of their victory back into town, the party met with Lorenzo once again in the Adventurers Guild office to report their success. After receiving payment, the group was interrupted by the front door swinging open. A man stumbled in, then collapsed on the floor, dropping a crumpled-up sheet of parchment. The man perished right then and there, having used the last of his strength to deliver this message to the Adventurers Guild. The note simply read, "Help. Elder Vale." Investigating the body, the party found a strange marking on the man's neck, which gave off a lingering purple glow. Once the glow dissipated, the mark remained a neutral black for a few seconds, before dissolving off of his lifeless skin. Inquiring Lorenzo about the letter, the man informed them that the Elder Vale is a secluded valley south of Viella, the same direction that the undead ogre's tracks seemed to be leading. All contact with the Vale had ceased almost 10 years prior. Nobody goes in, and nobody comes out. Determined to get to the bottom of this mystery and help the Elder Vale, the party packed their things and procured 2 draft horses from Lorenzo before setting out. They arrived in the Vale a couple of weeks later. Entering a small town at night, as a rainstorm pelted them from overhead, the party made their way to a quiet tavern. Upon entering, the barkeep hastily refused their patronage, insisting that they be on their way. Meanwhile, 2 male patrons at the bar started getting into a fight, their emotions elevating at an alarming rate. Out of nowhere, one patron stabbed the other with a dinner knife, threatening to kill him. Before the party could make anything of the situation, they were all met with a heavy, ominous feeling. The candles flickered, and the outside rain became muffled. Paralyzed by a strange force, the party could only watch in terror as the door to the tavern opened, and in walked a tall, pale figure, dressed in elegant black garb. The gaunt man was bald and had a patchwork face. He spoke in a shrill, hissing voice and requested that the barkeep offer the fresh corpse to him. Morgaine, attempting to heal the bleeding man, protested. She assumed her wild shape and stood beside Rhonda, both women ready to defend themselves. Hoff even took a swing at the man, though Rhonda, realizing the seriousness of the situation, used a spell to compel Hoff against attacking the villain. The strange man collected the dead body and paid the barkeep before departing, but not before welcoming the party to the Elder Vale. Once he was gone, barkeep Joseph revealed the man's identity. His name is Netherin Daz, and he is the ruler of the Elder Vale. Stunned by this revelation, the party looked at each other and simultaneously realized something quite dreadful. Their necks all bore the mark of Netherin Daz. They had been branded, cursed to never leave the Elder Vale alive. What sort of adventure awaits our heroes in this strange valley? What kinds of characters will they meet? Will they one day defeat Netherin Daz and free the people of the Vale? Or will Netherin succeed at whatever dark ambition he truly has? That, my dear viewers, is up to you. Find out what happens next in future installments of the Elder Vale Campaign Diary. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this sort of audiobook format video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. I know that my voiceover work was a bit rushed at points, but that's just because I was trying to make sure that the video didn't go on too long. The Elder Vale Campaign Diary entries are not going to be this heavily edited. I just wanted to give you guys something really nice as an introduction to the party and to the story so far, so hopefully y'all are hyped to see where this campaign goes. I know I am. I had a lot of fun making it, and it gave me a great opportunity to show off some amazing art from my good friend RJ Bun Art over on Twitter. Link in the description down below. Head over to his Twitter and check out his drawings. He's an amazing artist. and a fantastic friend of mine, so definitely give that man some love. If you're interested in building this campaign with me, then come join me this Saturday, February 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time here on this channel. I'm going to be doing the very first Eldervale campaign building live stream, so come over there and help me build this campaign. It'll be a lot of fun. That's it, guys. Once again, thank you for watching. Hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any uploads or live streams. This is Chris, the Absolute DM, and I love you so much, and I thank you for watching. Bye-bye. For my great friend RJ Bon Art over on Twitty.